Welcome to your next lesson on importance. Now, just like in the previous lesson where we looked at appropriateness, there are also 4 options for importance questions. For these sets of questions, you'll be asked to judge how important a series of options are in response to a scenario. You will have very important, important, of minor importance, and last but not least, not important at all. So let's start by looking at very important. So, if something is very important, it is something that is absolutely essential to consider. It basically cannot be dismissed at all, and whenever you see a statement and you feel like the decision cannot be made without excluding this, it must mean that it has to be very important. Now an example. A junior doctor is becoming extremely tired because of their continuous workload. How important is it to consider that they may make a mistake as a result? Well, it is very important to consider. Patient safety should be valued at the utmost, and if a doctor is tired, they will make mistakes, which will put patient safety at risk. It is therefore a very important point to consider. Next, let's look at important. This is when something that is important but not absolutely essential to consider. It is therefore not vital, but it may actually make a difference. Now, before we looked at very important, now this is important. So, example. A junior doctor receives a small gift of flowers as a form of gratitude for providing support during a difficult point in their life. How important is it to consider that the patient is a regular in the practice and the gift is linked to a particular situation? It is an important point to consider. This is because it makes sense for the patient to be offered a present as a thank you. They have made a significant difference to the patient. It wouldn't make as much sense to receive a gift for a one-off routine visit. This means that the fact that the patient is a regular provides a sense of it being normal and therefore has a certain bearing on the decision that is made. The reason it is important and not very important is because it is not an essential consideration that is being made. Now, when you're doing the UKCAT, you may sometimes find that questions you're not sure whether to choose between important and very important. The one thing you have to choose here is decide whether it is essential or not essential. That will help you decide whether it is important or very important. They would not say no to the gift simply on the basis that they weren't a regular patient, which makes it an important point to consider. Next, we have of minor importance. This is when something that could potentially be taken into account, but it does not matter if it is taken into account or not. You must remember that this is mildly relevant in a decision-making process. In this example, a junior doctor who attends theatre sessions and disappears when there are other jobs to do that they find monotonous and uninteresting. They say that they will try to compensate for their absence by taking on more work later on during the week. You must remember that this is a very hypothetical scenario where the doctor makes an assumption that they will take on more work later on in the year. However, whether they actually do this is another question. The reason it is of minor importance and not important at all is because it is a slightly important factor to consider because it will benefit the whole ward, because it will mean that there is an overall equal allocation of work across it. Finally, we have not important at all. If this is something that should definitely not be taken into account and is completely irrelevant. In this example, a consultant is intoxicated during a ward round and a junior doctor notices him. The junior doctor does not want to report it because it is a consultant's word against theirs. Professionalism is a quality that has to be maintained no matter what stage of medical training, meaning it is not important at all whether they are a junior doctor, consultant. The basis of seniority should not be a factor to consider at all, especially when someone is putting the patient safety at risk. This means that it is not important at all.